Alex Bowman in a contract year needed to prove that he was worth to stay in the 88, and right now he's off to a good start. He wins the 2020 Auto Club 400, scoring his second victory of his career and his first of the season. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Inside the Lines Post Race Show. My name is Jack Krause, and yeah, it was an alright race, to be honest. You know, nothing really out of the ordinary. We know restarts were chaotic. We saw some drivers that we didn't expect to be out in front. We also saw some drivers we expected to stay in the back work their way to the front. First of all, there was a very cool moment at the start of the race. It was a 5 white salute that NASCAR has done, and Article Speedway, they've done that for a couple years right now. But one of the cool little twists added to it was that Jimmie Johnson, who was racing at his hometown track for the final time in his career, he was out in front of the rest of the 37 car field. It was a pretty cool moment to see. And Johnson was actually pretty competitive in this race. So one of the big things that we expected heading into Auto Club was restarts, and restarts were chaotic, but they weren't crazy. It was organized chaos. We saw a lot of aggressive, bold moves. We saw a couple of drivers, like one time Hrvic, I think it was later on stage 2, like Hrvic, he would go from the top of the racetrack all the way down low to the apron. Saw a lot of side drafting. It was like super speedway type racing. Saw a lot of drivers getting on each other corner panels to halt their momentum. And we saw early on, especially at the start of stage 1 and stage 2, some really good battles for the race lead. Stage 1, we saw drivers like Kurt Busch, Clint Bowyer, Jimmie Johnson, and Alex Bowman. They were swapping the lead for a short amount of time. It was Bowyer and then Blaney, really. Then Bowman and Blaney, I should say. Then Bowyer got into the mix. Then Kurt Busch was still waiting in the wings. Jimmie Johnson even at one point got out in front for just a quick second right there. But that was really about it in terms of battles. Ryan Blaney was on the move. He started, I think, in row 3, 5th or 6th place, I want to say. Made his way up into the 2nd spot. We only had one incident took place in stage 1. And that was Kyle Larson. He was getting pushed by the 11 car Denny Hamlin on the front straightaway. But Hamlin pushed him too hard, because then Larson just got punted into the outside wall, and that would ruin his day. Larson had a pretty good car. Was, like I said, was around a top 10 contender. I thought he might have a winning race car, but more of a top 10 driver. But tough break for him. Just literally just pushing. It was just pushing, trying to help each other. Now we saw a lot of that. Saw a lot of bump drafting on the straightaways and on the back straightaways. It's just one of those unlikely circumstances where it just did not line up, and it ultimately maybe not ruined, but it did hurt Larson's day tremendously. That would be ultimately it. Alex Bowman would then go on to win stage 1. Stage 2, yeah, Jimmie Johnson started on the front row after pit stops. Him, Bowman, and Blaney. Those were the top 3 drivers now in the mix. They were the leaders of stage 2, but Blaney would ultimately get out in front. Christopher Bell, one of the rookies this year, tough break for him. He lost an engine halfway, I believe, around stage 2. No caution out, but tough break for him. But our first real caution of the day will come with 28 laps to go in stage 2. With Clint Bowyer cut a left front tire, the pole sitter. It did not hinder him as much as I thought it would. He was able to rebound a bit there, but Bowyer, I expected him to perform a lot better than I saw in this race. I thought he'd be in the top 5 a lot more, be in the mix, but he really wasn't there. He was there for a bit when he was a pole sitter, but then just fell off and wasn't really a factor. And like I said earlier on, nothing much happened in this race. Blaney, when he got to the lead, he was gone. He would win stage 2. Stage 3, during pit stops, the last round of pit stops, yeah, Mark Truex Jr., who was on a tear, started from 38th spot, made his way up into the top 5, even led a few laps, and in stage 3, he was in contention for a top 3, top 5 finish. But during pit stops, there was an issue either with the pit crew's hand or with the gun, but he was just not able to get the tire off, the lug nuts off in time, and it was a very slow pit stop. And that just ruined Truex's run to get a good finish. He would ultimately finish in the 14th spot, which I thought were maybe 3rd or 4th spots. So that was a really, really tough break for him. Truex, he was pretty animated throughout the entire race, but we're going to get to that later on. With 3 laps to go in the race, Ryan Blaney, who was running in 2nd at the time, had one of the most dominant cars of this race. He had a right rear tire go down with 3 to go, and he had to pit, and I felt so bad for him. He was very close to winning last weekend at Vegas, was also extremely close to winning at Fontana. I thought he had the car to beat Alex Bowman, but unfortunately he had to come onto pit road because, I mean, it's better to be safe than sorry. He was a points leader heading into this race, so it's better to be safe than sorry to try and risk it and make it to the end. He would go on to finish 19th, so he would stay on, now he wouldn't stay on the lead lap, but he would go 1 lap down. But I feel like if he would have stayed out on the racetrack with that tire going down, he would have spun out and he would have probably finished 28th or something like that. It would have been a lot worse had he stayed out. Meanwhile, out in front, it was Alex Bowman. He will go on to win the Auto Club 400, his second race win of his career in the first of the 2020 season. He will go on to lead 109 of the 200 laps led. Second and third place was the Busch brothers of Kyle and Kurt respectively. Fourth was Chase Elliott. Fifth was Brad Keselowski. Sixth was Denny Hamlin. Seventh was Jimmy Johnson. Nice one for him in his final California start at his hometown track. Eighth is Aric Almirola. Ninth is Kevin Harvick. And running out the top 10 is Erik Jones. So I was proven wrong about with the Toyotas. They were pretty stout, except for Jones. He did get a top 10, but Jones was just nowhere near with Truex, Hamlin, and Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch, second place. I was not expecting that from the speed he had. I had him in my garage because it was like, okay, he may be bad, but he's gonna find a way, and he sure enough did. Second place run, but I was expecting him to maybe get into the top 10 or the top 5. I was not expecting him to get to second place. Denny Hamlin also had a really good car throughout the second stage. From then on, he started to really come to life. Truex, I felt like he had the best car of the Joe Gibbs bunch, but something happened with the left rear tire. I still don't know what happened. Either the pit crew guy was holding his hand, but really don't know what happened. But that issue ruined Truex's run. Truex was pretty animated about people racing him hard, and I feel like that's an issue that Truex has. He gets butthurt over drivers that are racing him hard. When a couple times when Fox put him on the radio, he was throwing out cusses and stuff like that, and it's like over stuff that's like, really, you're really complaining over that. So I do have an issue with him on that, but otherwise he should have had a good day if it wasn't for that pit road issue. Joe Gibbs really did surprise me, so give him credit on that. Hendrick Motorsports is back. Bowman winning, Johnson is 7th, and I think Elliott was 3rd or 4th. Byron, I think he finished like 13th or 15th. Not a good day for him. He did have some moments near the beginning of stage 2, but that was really about it. But again, I was really impressed by how good Hendrick Motorsports run, mainly between Johnson and Bowman, because those drivers really were good the entire race. Chase Elliott, he started to come to life around stage 3. Byron was just never there, but based on what we saw last weekend at Vegas, where Hendrick shined with Bowman out in front, Johnson in contention, Elliott dominating the race until he cut that tire, and now here today at Fontana, Bowman dominating, Johnson in contention, and Elliott starting to rally near the end of the race. I'm very confident in how Hendrick's gonna perform. Also, Chip Ganassi, Larson did not have a good day. Had a little run-in with Denny Hamlin, but Kurt Busch, he was in the mix. He was very quiet. He had a really quiet but solid day. He was in the top 5, top 10 all race long. Managed to come home in 3rd place. Very nice run for him. I'm liking what I see out of the Chevy cam. It's gonna be very interesting. I think they finally, both Chip Ganassi and Hendrick, they finally got their heads wrapped around this new Camaro ZL1 1LE, and I'm surprised at this early on. If you look at what happened last year with the ZL1, they started to click halfway through the season. At least Chip Ganassi with Hendrick, they started to click maybe when the chase started, when the playoffs started, was when Hendrick started to figure out the ZL1. Now with the new car, with the 1LE, they already clicked on the second race of the season. So very interested to see what can Chevy do when next weekend we will go to the final race of the NASCAR Goes West Tour at Phoenix Raceway. It's now called Phoenix Raceway, no longer called ISM. Like I said, for the final race of the NASCAR Goes West Tour, which will also be home to the championship finale in November. Overall, I give this race about a 6, I would say 7 out of 10. The restarts were a lot of fun, and especially even, I want to say, 10 to 20 laps into those restarts. Saw some really good racing. After a while, we saw the tire fall off, and that's one thing I don't like with this package, specifically at tracks like Fontana. Once you get into a long run, it's like 10 times harder now to gain, for the field to be closer. It's that much harder to make passes because of this high downforce, low horsepower package. That's the only downside I don't like about it, is that the restarts and the racing after those restarts, they're great, but once you get into a long run, no passing. So that's why I give it a 7 out of 10. Restarts and everything near the laps right after those restarts, fun, but just it was better than last year, I will say that, but it was still a bit lackluster. Specifically near stage 3, not really much happened until Ryan Blaney had that issue with his right rear tire. So I give it a 6.5, maybe 7 out of 10. Much better than last year's race, which is what I'm judging off of as. And yeah, so again, next weekend we'll be at the Phoenix Raceway, the final race of the NASCAR Goes West Tour on Fox. should be a lot of fun. It's going to be interesting to see, can Chevrolet continue that domination with Hendrick and Chip Ganassi? Was Toyota's, was it a fluke from Vegas? Are they really starting to now gain some momentum? Have they figured out, okay, now we really have to step up? Are they going to show off their Toyota dominance like they did last season? Can Ford step up to the plate? They have not won a race so far this season. They did pretty good with Stewart-Haas Racing. You had Kevin Harvick in the mix, but that was really about it. Eric Almirola quietly made his way through the field into the top 10, but really haven't seen Stewart-Haas shine yet. We'll have to see what happens next weekend in the desert. So tell me, what do you guys think of the race in the comment section down below. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content. But until next time, my name is Jack Cross from NASCAR on MDK, and I'll see you guys in the next video.